Meng Tian really wanted the chance to go to Elite Academy X, but her ability X was not sufficient. This left her a little disappointed. Training in the space troops was carefree, but perhaps a little too much so. If she simply wanted the glory of being a general, then this was a perfect match, but this was not what she wanted. Although she was a girl, but Meng Tian's appetite for risk was deeply embedded in her personality. One's starting point was a major deciding factor in one's future. IG was a clear dividing line. Those who had competed and those who had not were completely different, and Elite Academy X was another dividing line. There was still time, but unless she could elevate her own ability X to C rank within the short span remaining, only then could Meng Ao fight for a chance for her to take the test. But it was clearly too difficult. Although Meng Tian had had the opportunity to fight in the IG main competition, but when things had gotten intense in the later stages, she was reduced to a mere spectator. IG was a process where the standards and condition of each country's experts could be tested. Therefore, even in the troop, Meng Tian continued to maintain a high volume of training. It had to be said that Meng Tian's arrival had brought a different atmosphere to the mature warship. The unmarried men on the ship had suddenly leapt into a frenzy, frantically trying to do well in front of Meng Tian. The effect on them when she wore her uniform was unimaginable. It was unclear how wearing a uniform helped a space troop in battle, but the cut was indeed flattering and flaunted Meng Tian's slender figure in full. It was a pity that Meng Tian was taking this all very patiently, a bunch of old men who thought of nothing but romance. The poor 30-year-olds, the troop's elite, had been heartlessly reduced to the mere status of old men by Meng Tian. The Solar System Federation had not been involved in a large-scale war for a long time. They still had regular practice, but the feeling was their military power was highly inadequate. What kind of battle power could such a troop muster? In IG, Meng Tian had witnessed the military situation of those empires like Arbiter and Aslan. They had an approach that advanced with sophistication. Attitude also drew the distance between military competence wider and wider. As part of the revolutionary faction, her father was worried about this. Previously, Meng Tian had thought he worried too much, but now it seemed like he simply had the foresight to build their Rome in more than a day. Such a situation would not change. If war broke out, the solar system troops' military power was weak. Not just big empires like Aslan, but even those like the Silver Snake Republic, Gemini Republic etc. were all big powers, holding an important position in the Milky Way alliance. After the day's training quota was reached, Meng Tian returned to her room for a bath, shrouding her alabaster figure in the heavy mist. She had not a shred of excess fat on her. Her slim, firm legs would drive people crazy even without high heels. Perhaps it was the ice affinity that had changed her, infusing her body with beauty. But Meng Tian only cared about such things when Wang Zheng was with her. Absently fondling her slowly growing chest, Meng Tian was a little worried. An overdeveloped bosom would affect her movements, growing pains. Outside, her Skylink chirped. Meng Tian dried her hair off and wrapped a towel. Who would be looking for her at this time? She was taken aback with one look, hurriedly opening the Skylink, as though afraid the signal would disappear. Wang Zheng's shape appeared. He had not thought too much about things like the time, simply calling to get through. Meng Tian appeared in just a towel, her hair still glistening, her lovely legs and breasts hinting through the towel. Wang Zheng felt his brain hum. Of all the girls he knew, besides Aina, the only one he had had intimate contact with was Meng Tian. When their ability X had clashed, they had had a common feeling. Meng Tian did not seem to catch on. Wang Zheng, what's the matter, you? Wang Zheng caught himself spacing out, and coughed hastily to cover his embarrassment. Meng Tian, it's like this. I found a secret application, it's about a virtual world. Wang Zheng sketched out the world of Saint briefly. This seems to be classified as a dangerous type, and more details are hazy. You decide whether you want to try it or not. But Meng Tian agreed without hesitating. If such a place existed, she had to test it out. After they hung up, Meng Tian looked at the mirror and realized she had been teasing him in her underwear. She could imagine how he must have felt faced with a bashful but cold girl. Switching off the Skylink with Wang Zheng, her heart was pounding as well. He had always resisted pretty girls well. Could he have finally succumbed? Currently, Saint World, Saint Level's Void Temple. In the vast temple, there were only 4 people. Their attire was not the dull and drab clothing of those from the disciple level. All 4 were richly adorned, almost like the kings of age. All wore masks. One wore a fiery red mask, Jade. One wore a green devil mask, Famine. A gold crown mask, Mew. A blue Medusa mask, Rot. The Void Temple in the Saint World could only be entered by saints. It was said that it contained the biggest secret in the Saint World. Once one entered, one would control an uncommon power. I heard a bunch of promising newcomers have come. This time it's my turn to have first pick. Don't snatch what's mine. The blue Medusa mask Rot said with a lazy drawl. He sounded young. It's the same every year, and it's always scrubs. The elders are always worried about this and that. But our sanctuary has already risen to be unstoppable. The flame mask Jade was clearly a woman. Her voice did not sound young, but it was husky and sexy. I heard some were personally invited by the elders. Seems a little mysterious. Perhaps there really will be good ones. In these few years, only the Arbiter guy was not bad. Too bad we couldn't use him. Kiki, Mew, I hear your record's been broken. Knife Mountain Trial, 90 meters. The gold crown mask Mew still had an emotionless expression. Say that again when they enter the saint level. Mew eyed the empty place noncommittally. His figure slowly faded, disappearing from the sanctuary. Mew is still as reckless as ever. It seems like he's very confident he will be chosen as the master saint. Famine's voice was pregnant with dissatisfaction. Kiki, the 5 of us simply have a better shot. The elders are looking for the chosen one. Fate, my ass. Strength is the only determiner of fate. Famine waved a fist, and his body disappeared too. Only Jade and Rot were left now, and they looked at each other. Everyone is looking at the position of Master Saint. Jade, what say we ally? Jade's fiery mask seemed to come alive. She smiled and said, I'm a woman. There's no need to consider me. The elders will not let me accede to the position of Master Saint. Kiki, that's why you should choose someone who suits you. I think so too. Presently, I think Mew is suitable. As she said thus, her body erupted in flames and disappeared. In the hall, only the Medusa mask Rot was left. The prohibition had been broken, and the elders had been searching frantically for the destined Master Saint. It was rumored that they had a few candidates already, but what was fate? This was a hurtful story. The Medusa on the mask seemed to writhe. His eyes flashed with white light. When it faded, the great hall was empty. The 5 of them already led the way, and stood the most chance. Once they found an expert, they would try all ways and means to attract them, and grow their own power. If they were not useful, then they would be disposed of, unless the opponent was strong enough to defend themselves. Meng Tian had been enlightened early. Being an Ability X user was testament to her talent. Her enlightenment had been smooth. She had clearly felt the changes in her body. Although the progress of her Ability X had not been life-changing, but it was enough that the ability could be developed. This was outrageous. Perhaps this was a chance for her to fight side by side with Wang Zheng. She felt both happy and conflicted. Wang Zheng had been invited by Yan Xiaoshu out for supper at War Street 1, a popular food street near the Ares College. Tyrant Su was very happy. More accurately, he was euphoric. Previously, he had been stifled and goaded by Diana, even being backstabbed when he was down. But now things were looking up. He could hold his head high and breathe normally. Tyrant Su had invited Yi Zisu, as well as his new girlfriend. A bubbly young girl from Year 1, studying finance in Shangjing University. Ever since in May, Yan Xiaoshu had wanted to get serious, but felt like he was unable to. It seemed like feelings had passed him by. One night, Tyrant Su and his new girlfriend were getting too lovey-dovey in front of Wang Zheng and Yi Zisu, causing them to protest non-stop. Regardless, Tyrant Su completely did not mind, saying, "Brother, I don't even mind if you cop a feel. After all, we practically grew up in the same pair of pants." As he said that, he kissed his new girlfriend, whose face had turned red with embarrassment, further taunting them. F***ck off, who's wearing the same pants as you? Tonight I'll teach you a lesson. But in the end they did not drink too much. Tyrant Su still had to send his new girlfriend back to school. He was a good boy. Wang Zheng sent Yi Zisu back, while Yan Xiaoshu sent Xiao Ya back to her door, smiling. Thanks for your cooperation today. As expected of an actress. Professional. I'll put the expenses to your card later. Xiao Ya batted her eyelids. I think you're not a bad guy, really. What say we get serious? Nice acting. Yan Xiaoshu said casually. With a rumble, his magnetic hovercar raced off. Wang Zheng had initially thought of giving the program to Yi Zisu and the rest, but after he had transferred it to Meng Tian, the sequence had frozen, and he could not transfer it. He would have to wait for the next time he spoke to Old Merchant. But now that he thought about it, if it was too easily reproduced, it would have been exposed long ago. To get hold of ancient arts and a high level of technology, what had Old Merchant gotten into? In a faraway star field, everyone in the Milky Way knew that Roland Garros, designated headquarters of the Milky Way Alliance, was the pinnacle of human civilization. Nobody could doubt Roland Garros' importance, even Atlantis and Maya. But only those who truly understood Roland Garros knew that what it presented to the world was merely her facade. Elite Academy X was located in Roland Garros' underworld. At that very moment, Xie Yuxin was reeling from the real face of Roland Garros. This was kilometers below the surface. The place he stood on was a huge skyscraper. It seemed like an ordinary skyscraper found elsewhere, but this one had a huge ropeway elevator that connected it to the surface. This was undoubtedly a city constructed deep underground. What was mind-boggling was that it had a sky, like the surface. What was more, a cool breeze was blowing, which showed that this was not just a simulated sky. The air here, everything here, was a complete climate system. But they were kilometers below ground. Just at this moment, 3 spacecraft flew across the airspace. They were winking with some strange light, and disappeared in the sky in a flash. Xie Yuxin blinked. He wondered if he had been mistaken. Atlantis spacecraft, but the outward appearance had been that of the classic human style. It should not be a complete Atlantis rune, perhaps using some replacement technology to achieve the same results. But logically, this was something that would take decades more to achieve, but they were already commonly used here. It seemed like humanity held many secrets. No wonder the response to the Maya Empire's offer a while back had been lackluster. A jet of air rushed at him, and a personal spacecraft bearing the Atlantis rune stopped beside Xie Yuxin. It was about 1.5 times the size of a flycraft, about the size of a fighter ship. Xie Yuxin's eyes flashed. Seeing the name emblazoned on the craft's hull, it was probably here for him. Elite Academy X's flycraft. The craft cockpit opened, and a black face emerged. Cold eyes landed on Xie Yuxin and sized him up. You are Xie Yuxin? Yes. How should I address you, senior? Xie Yuxin nodded, putting on his best polite smile. Before he came, there had been an explanation that a senior from the Elite Academy X would come to receive him. This underground Roland Garros was nicknamed Inner Roland. The place was vast. Including the airspace, it was about the same size as the Asian continent, and was not just limited to the Elite Academy X. Chen Tianjun. Chen Tianjun's tone was still cold. Xie Yuxin had just sat down, when the cockpit closed speedily. In an instant, they had already entered the ready state, and accelerated promptly. By outside world standards, only Atlantis-make spacecraft could achieve that. Is this his runic power? Xie Yuxin asked. Strictly speaking, you are not yet a part of the Elite Academy X, and should not know this. It is better for you to stay ignorant. Chen Tianjun coldly looked at Xie Yuxin. Xie Yuxin just smiled it off. He did not take Chen Tianjun's attitude to heart, and instead turned to look outwards. The flycraft had quickly exited this stretch of the city, crossing endless fields. The fields here looked like genuine, natural forests. Xie Yuxin's brain sent out some gentle probes. This was his abilities probe, intuition and sensing ability. The forest below was not a fake hologram, but a real forest. Furthermore, the place gave him a feel that was very similar to Earth. Very curious. Xie Yuxin's ability had already developed to predict things at the limit of the micro level. Logically, identifying the difference between planets should be an easy matter. But if he had not known that he was in the subterranean Roland Garros, he would have thought he was on Earth. In his mind's eye, his sensor waves trembled slightly, but they had reached a physical human body, but no clearer picture, with only a weak signal. Xie Yuxin looked unobtrusively over at Chen Tianjun. After 10 minutes, the flycraft arrived at another city, enclosed by forests. This was different from the previous one. There were no high-rise skyscrapers, but many multi-story constructions. All the architecture surrounded a huge school campus. They had reached the Elite Academy X. The flycraft slowed. A few light rays suddenly swept out from the elite college. Xie Yuxin clearly felt their potency. If something was off, the entire flycraft would face an incinerating attack. But quickly, the sense of danger ebbed. Clearly, the flycraft had passed the scan. Quickly, they descended in the elite college. Don't dilly-dally. Chen Tianjun eyed Xie Yuxin, feeling a little irritated. He had actually been sent to pick up this scrawny kid. What a waste of his time. Couldn't they send just about anyone else to pick him up? I thank Senior Chen Tianjun for taking the trouble, Xie Yuxin said. Don't patronize me. I'm not your senior yet. It's still a question if you can pass the exam. And, during the test, you better not mention my name, Chen Tianjun said coldly. Kiki. Xie Yuxin had no intention of announcing his status as a direct invite. He merely surveyed the surroundings. The environment was not bad, peaceful and suited to the training of Ability X. Furthermore, there were quite a few people around. Clearly they were Ability X users, and strong ones at that. On the way, quite a few people called out greetings to Chen Tianjun with a deferent attitude, although Xie Yuxin's sense told him that they felt fear towards Chen Tianjun. To these greeters, Chen Tianjun was always grim. He did not regard them as worthy of attention. A bunch of weaklings, undeserving of his recognition. Rumble. Suddenly a huge sound came from ahead, followed by a few mournful cries. Chen Tianjun frowned, and headed in that direction. Xie Yuxin's gaze flickered. Seemed like things were headed in a violent direction. He piped up, Senior Chen Tianjun, are we not going to report? Chen Tianjun completely ignored his hint, and continued striding forward. Xie Yuxin gave a wry smile and said no more. On the flycraft, he had sensed that there was something else on Chen Tianjun's mind. Chen Tianjun's look was frosty. His Ability X was special. It was not just a speed-type Ability X, but also a vision-strengthening type, especially over long distances, and specialized in night vision and target capture. Especially target capture. At his speed, it felt like time slowed to a crawl in front of him. When he activated his ability, it was like he was the only one living in a normal time, while everything else moved in slow motion. This was the ability that made Chen Tianjun proud. A basic ability user was like a tortoise in front of him. Briskly crossing the crowd, Chen Tianjun's gaze turned wintry. He saw a Year 2 classmate trod under someone's foot. A few others were sprawled on the ground. A few others were white in the face, but did not dare to intervene. What happened? Chen Tianjun's arrival immediately made him the pillar of support for the group. Brother Chen, you came at an opportune time. This punk has a dirty mouth. A newcomer who actually dared to slight the rules that we upperclassmen set. Chen Tianjun ignored them, instead looking at the towering frame. He merely said, you will do. Just kneel and apologize. Follow me from now on, and nobody will bother you. The towering figure kicked out lightly, and the one underfoot flew away. His shoe was stained with blood. Without a hint of life in his eyes, he merely looked at his opponent, and said a word, scram. Chen Tianjun smiled. I like those with character, but I like teaching them a lesson even more. Boom. Chen Tianjun moved in a flash, extreme speed ability, bang. At the same time, Chen Tianjun's eyes turned a white gold color, his vision enhancement complementing his super speed. A normal speed-type Ability X user had the speed but not the vision. In a straight line, they were capable, but once there were swerves and turns, they would lose sight of the target. They were little better off than blind men, striking based on their sense. But the battlefield was ever-changing. Going by feel was an unreliable approach. Therefore, most speed Ability X users' usable speed was limited by their vision. But Chen Tianjun was different. He had super sight as well to match his speed. At that moment, from his perspective, everything slowed around him. He could easily complete his attacks before his target could even react. This time round as well would be no exception. Furthermore, this newcomer punk was too full of himself. The consequence of slighting him was blood. Like lightning, his fist was about to connect with his opponent's face. The reaction was too slow. Chen Tianjun smirked. Proud? Conceited? Pa. Everything was slow, but suddenly Chen Tianjun's attack path was filled with that huge hand. Tightly gripping his wrist, in an instant, another fist appeared in Chen Tianjun's field of vision. Everything was slow, except for that fist. Boom! Chen Tianjun felt like the sky and earth were spinning. Was he flying? Everything went black. The youth just swept his gaze over them coldly. Trash followed trash. He turned to leave, but another figure moved to stop him. The one who had stopped him was no other than Xie Yuxin. Fellow student, please wait a moment. The young man frowned. Nobody ever dared to block his path. Here, all these runts had dared to show off in front of him. But faced with Xie Yuxin's smile, and the word, please, he did not act immediately, simply staring coldly at Xie Yuxin. May I ask where the reporting location is? Xie Yuxin asked brightly. The young man's killing instinct faded away, staring at Xie Yuxin. Xie Yuxin continued to smile pleasantly. If I guess right, you are headed for the reporting location as well. If it is convenient, would you let me come along? I'm a newcomer as well. A very new newcomer. I'm not with them. The young man's manner was still cold, but he did not say no. Xie Yuxin smiled to himself and followed. You're very good. What is your name? The young man moved with an aloofness, but then he said, Olivius. Meanwhile, back in Saint. In truth, even the 5 saints who had reached the pinnacle of the saint world did not know its origins. They knew there was a saint church where the elders convened, where they could act undisturbed. It seemed like the entire saint world was a place to test things. But the arrangement had undoubtedly developed in economic ways and technical technique beyond expectations. At the same time, it was a good way to uncover the martial arts that were the strength of humanity. Anybody, regardless of who they were, wanted some of this power once they reached here. And if one wanted to enter the saint church, and even master their strength, they had to become the master saint. And to become the master saint, not only did one have to have sufficient ability, but had to display competent leadership. They had to prove themselves. But the position of saint was not static. They replaced the seats of others, and at the same time were replaced by others. After becoming a saint, they received power and privilege that compelled them to continue. They could not sit idle because the things they had to do were multiplied. Of course, most important was training. This was the basis of the saint world, and the final goal of the saints, the 64-point blade techniques. Legend said that it had the mystical power to cause decay. Meng Tian had smoothly entered the saint world, but she still needed considerable time to pass through the various basic tests. But this training method was considerably helpful to her, especially the blade techniques training. Wang Zheng did not immediately give the icy soul arts to her. He let her focus on honing her basic blade techniques, which would be very important to her in the future. Meng Tian had already changed from partially disbelieving to wholly engaged. The moment her daily work with the crew was finished, Meng Tian would shut herself up in her room. This caused the troupe to speculate that Meng Tian had found a boyfriend. There were many things that one could do in the room, such as a Skylink broadcast, or meet in a virtual world. Especially since Meng Tian had bought virtual world equipment. Given her character, she would not waste her free time on useless things, unless there was a special goal. This goal must be a boyfriend. This triggered the belligerence in the crew's guys. They wanted to beat that guy up. Meng Tian came from an illustrious family, and had a body figure to die for, and she was still young. Although she was a little distant, but that merely spoke well of her innocence, which further fired the blood of countless hot-headed young men. Clearly, the colder the girl, the more passionate they were when tamed. And which man did not want to shape their own girl? Meng Tian never cared about these things. She simply reduced her daily training load, which would only help her to maintain her condition, but not improve. Wang Zheng only gave her a few pointers at the start, and then left her to her own devices. Wang Zheng was clear that Meng Tian, if reincarnated in the ancient times, would be a true heroine. The blade techniques had helped him obtain the icy soul arts, but that was not what he wanted. If only it had been the 16-point blade techniques. In the Saint world, blade techniques was seen as a basic, common thing. Everybody was more concerned with their own affiliated martial arts. The higher the affinity, the more efficient their improvement. But to Wang Zheng, only the blade techniques were useful. It had to be said that the mastery process of blade techniques was fastest to Wang Zheng. He had some foundations, but some corners still could not be cut. The daily random trial was now Wang Zheng's foremost goal. Perhaps he would stumble across the blade techniques. That would be a big windfall. Even if he did not, he could still make a quick buck and sustain himself. After his training, Wang Zheng went to the trial hall. Every time the trials opened, crowds flocked there. People were constantly entering. Of course, there were many who left as well, each with their heads hung. The first try was free, but if one wanted to continue, that would cost hours, and the more one tried, the higher the fee. Today's trial was the Zeus trial. Wang Zheng had just stepped into the great hall, when he heard all kinds of pitiful cries that left one's hair standing on end. A 100 meters tunnel. It was nothing unusual, but there would be round light rings flashed on the ground. The challenger must pass through the light rings, which would appear at any time. Therefore, one must have speedy reflexes. The foot must leave the light ring before the ring vanished. If one's foot did not have a protecting light ring around it, boom, a bolt of lightning would directly incinerate you to ash. 60 meters was the passing mark. This undoubtedly favored the speed-type Ability X users who could depend on their Ability X naturally. Some thought of rushing through in one shot. 100 meters was neither very long nor very short. If one gunned the throttle, it was a matter of a few seconds. But the problem was the lightning. In just split seconds, those who harbored such notions were jolted back into reason. But some had succeeded. Those who had a lightning affinity, through their arts, could take a few hits and endure through. In the 10 minutes or so, some had passed, and the name on the stone plaque was still Mew. Wang Zheng was a little curious. Through gauging the level of technique needed for the Knife Mountain trial, Mew had been able to get that far with just an 8-point blade techniques. His technique was nothing to sneeze at. He himself had the primordial regression technique as a base. What about Mew? Clearly some people had noticed Wang Zheng. His black metal mask was fairly unique, and his name was memorable. More importantly, he had displaced Mew, taking the new record for the Knife Mountain trial. He had definitely shot to fame overnight. Seeing so many pairs of eyes on him, Wang Zheng was a little irritated. No way about it. Talent always drew attention wherever it went. But he soon realized that many were looking behind him. A young man of about equal stature wore a little bear mask. It was very comical and cute. His name was Tentacle Mold. In a thrice, Tentacle Mold was surrounded by a crowd, and Wang Zheng was left alone. Could he be some expert? Even so, that did not warrant such a warm reception. Don't push, don't push. Those who weigh more than 100 please go to the back. Girls first, pretty girls first and the pretty lawless first est. Tentacle Mold's voice was very soothing, almost like the bleating of a lamb. Damn, what kind of expert is he, that everyone is so enthusiastic? Wang Zheng could not help but ask. That guy is one of the top 10 in the disciple level. He could have advanced a long time ago, but he's nice, staying in the disciple level to help people pass trials, and for a reasonable price as well. But this guy is rumored to love lawless. If it's a pretty girl, he could even have his rates. Oh, he also accepts vengeance contracts, but you have to be the one in the right, so it doesn't affect his pristine image in the hearts of girls. Wang Zheng was stunned. Damn, a business competitor. No beauty came forth, but a trial challenger struck up a deal with Tentacle Mold, who proceeded to host him on his back and rush in. Wang Zheng's eyes had been opened. To think that something like that would work. A Wind Affinity Ability X user, his footwork was smooth, although the light rings changed quickly, but he was quicker. Carrying a person did not seem to affect his speed much. He quickly crossed the 60 meters finish line. Next. I'm only taking 5 orders today. 4 more. Whoosh, another wave of people rushed forward, because the later orders were more expensive. More importantly, it was rare to meet the kindly and professional Tentacle Mold, who gave reasonable rates and had a good attitude. Wang Zheng shook his head. This was definitely a good way to earn money, but he did not need it. Stepping into the trial arena, suddenly the entire trial hall fell into blackness. What was even more astonishing was that some who were early in the trial were directly kicked out. Wang Zheng felt that something was off, for the surroundings to be pitch black. This was different from what he saw just now, but he was through caring about the world's changes. The chaotic crowd outside had also fallen silent. Tentacle Mold fought free of the crowd in a few steps, staring at the trial arena open-mouthed. This was Saint class qualification. In Saint, some who were deemed of excellent quality were given the chance to take the Saint qualification. Once one passed a quota of Saint qualifications, one would become a quasi-saint, and granted the chance to challenge any of the 5 great saints and replace them. And the saint who lost the battle would disappear forever. Till date, the disappeared saints had never been seen again. Many of the saint qualifications occurred in the saint level. To reach that stage, about 10% of the people there were afforded the chance. Of course, those that passed were numbered. In the acolyte level it was about 1%, an even lower rate, but in the disciple level, unheard of. The sudden changes in the trial arena had attracted a lot of attention. The entire tunnel's light circles now changed twice as fast. What was even more frightening was that the light wheel's diameter had been shrunk from 2 meters to 1 meter. What was worse was that it used to be a light circle, but now was a light pillar. Wang Zheng revealed his delight. What he had seen was no challenge. This was more interesting. Whoosh! Wang Zheng leapt into the first light pillar. As he moved forward, it was apparent that the light pillars varied more than the light circles, and were faster as well. He had to keep up. In a sudden moment, it seemed like Wang Zheng's torso had slightly exceeded the light pillar. Immediately a bolt of lightning thundered down. Such a distraction would cause anybody to panic. The next response would be slower, but Wang Zheng was not hindered. He had done it on purpose. The corner of his clothes had brushed against the edge. No wonder it was a light pillar. It meant that one had to quickly correct one's form in the instant of landing. This was definitely a higher difficulty, requiring mastery of one's core. Everybody was shocked. Tentacle Mold watched silently as he entered the trial with the next client. If it had been him, with his speed, this would have been impossible to complete. Shing, 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 flitting from one position to another, the light pillars flickered even quicker, but were unable to slow the trial challenger Charcoal. Stable, so stable it was frightening. No matter what angle or distance they came from, he readily adjusted his position after landing. Just like that, they watched huge-eyed as he passed 60 meters. The Saint test. How many had even seen it happen before? Clearly 60 meters was not the passing mark. Wang Zheng continued forwards. It seemed like there was nothing unusual. Suddenly, the light circles disappeared. God! Even the one around his body faded. Was he about to be electrocuted? Wang Zheng could not see, but those outside could. This was practically hacking. Because the new light pillar appeared behind him, this Tentacle Mold sighed. In the end, a tragic tale. To become a saint in this world was such a long shot. At this difficulty, he might be able to pass if he tried it, but the subsequent changes were fatal. Under such a high-pressure situation, who would still think to guard the back? If they did, they could not possibly react quickly enough. But to the surprise of all present, the black metal mask Charcoal actually did a backflip, neatly landing within the light pillar. In that instant, Wang Zheng felt the light from behind him, adjusting his form in midair. This was nothing. Back then, in order to adapt to these changes, he had already been broken down countless times by electrocution. He had hoped that this would have something different. After he landed, the light pillars continued to retreat. This was also psychological torment. Such rushes were best completed in one shot. But the purposeful retreat set Wang Zheng back more than 10 meters. But to shake Wang Zheng's composure and mental state was impossible. Under the training of Bonehead, Wang Zheng had honed an indomitable will. It was unimaginable what it would take to unnerve him, but if such a thing ever appeared, it would be horrifying indeed. The light pillars started to advance, and Wang Zheng again returned to his 60 meters mark. But the pillars ahead suddenly tilted. Everybody's eyes were popping. The diameter of the light pillars already left them stunned, and now to slant them? Wang Zheng speedily proceeded. The straight pillars had been slightly easier than the plum blossom stakes, where the landings required one to maintain balance. In battle, after each attack, one had to keep their calm. This was the key to attack and defense. Once the center of balance was lost, it meant that you had fallen under the control of the opponent. Whether a skirmish or a long-drawn fight, this was definitely a necessary technique. At this stage, Wang Zheng was already fully engrossed. As he moved, his body swayed. The blade techniques kicked in, and he bent backwards. At the same time, he reached out, entering the next point. 70 meters exceeded. The light pillars appeared again, but they were half-length. Wang Zheng rose into the air, curling up into a ball. Only thus could he enter it as well as control his timing and angle. One could no longer proceed with their feet on the ground. But the most scary thing was that the light pillar that connected on the ground was a cylinder. Only 10 centimeters was in contact with the ground. In the air, Wang Zheng was upside down. Those outside could not see clearly, the light distorting their perception. Because to continue, Wang Zheng could only use a single finger. Shing, he stood within the light pillar as firmly as an awl embedded. But a new light pillar had already appeared. This depended on one's finger strength. His body lifted ever so slightly. He was now completely dependent on the blade techniques. Wang Zheng's blade techniques had inadvertently entered the intermediate stage. Although the primordial regression technique was impressive, he could not use it here. On the other hand, despite only having the 8 blade point techniques, it let Wang Zheng move as easily as breathing. The primordial regression technique's explosive strength was impressive, but in the finer details, always evaded his control. This had made Wang Zheng unable to master his ability X, but now it seemed like these blade techniques was about to solve this problem. Shing, in just one shot, using the control of these arts, to land accurately. 80 meters exceeded. Tentacle Mold looked at the name on the stone pillar, still Mu. As the one within the 5 great saints to have held the most records, Mu's ability left people covetous. What was more, this was a matter of a few years past. At what level would he be at now? And could this charcoal guy still advance? At 80 meters, the light pillar suddenly stopped, and the world in front changed. The final 20 meters, a light pillar appeared. Then another, and a third, but the light pillar shrouding Wang Zheng continued to hold him in stasis, and he could not move. Quickly, over 50 complex pillars vanished at once, and Wang Zheng's silver pillar also began to fade. What had just been demonstrated was the order of progression. Each pillar's distance was 2 meters, just that the sequence was very complex. Everybody was confused. A person might be able to remember 3 or 4 steps, but this was cheating. If one passed this, let alone a saint, one would be a god. What nobody saw was that Wang Zheng had closed his eyes, his body floating forward like a breeze, stepping into the darkness. At the instant when his foot landed, hearts stopped. Was he about to be reduced to ashes by lightning? Ping, a light circle lit up, followed by a second, and then a third. They lit up in sequence, and these did not disappear. Wang Zheng strode forward. The last 20 meters was actually an easy arrangement plum blossom stake. To others, this might have been the final nail in the coffin, but to Wang Zheng, this was of no difficulty. The rest watched on as a figure proceeded like a god, with an invincible aura to him. Boom, the stone pillar exploded, and a new gold pillar rose, replacing the original milky white pillar. On it was a word, charcoal. A comical name, but nobody laughed. The entire trial arena was illuminated, as though it had become a place outside the Great Hall, although the trial arena clearly still existed. Gods, this trial has been beaten again. It's becoming a daily training ground now. Somebody exclaimed joyously. Everybody checked their mission boards, and there was actually another daily training ground, Charcoal's footwork training. Charcoal's footwork training focused on the core, movement, and response, and was imbued with the essence of the mysterious plum blossom stakes steps, and was classified as a high-level ancient art. But Charcoal himself had already disappeared. Wang Zheng had already left preemptively to avoid trouble. He did feel a sense of accomplishment. A training ground named after him. Now if only he could get a share of the fee. Finishing the Saint trial, Wang Zheng's inventory had no rewards, not even a martial art. All he had to show for his efforts was an extra task, Saint trial. No rewards. Wang Zheng searched high and low. How was this possible? This plaything was no easy thing to cross for an average person. And he had finished it. The last time he had not completed the Knife Mountain trial, but had been gifted with an art. How stingy. Could it be that they were petty that he had consecutively beat too many things? Even his time had not been extended. Come on, even 10 or 20 hours would have been nice. Wang Zheng read the Saint trial details with some annoyance. It had no other related hints but one. Saint trial time did not cost time. Well, this perk was something he could appreciate. At least he did not have to spend money here. Wang Zheng was satisfied. Reasonable. On the other hand, he had brought about earth-shattering change in the Saint world. In the world of Saints, although there was the attention-attracting Saint trial, even if it appeared in the disciple level, it was only a gimmick. After all, the Saint trial only meant that you possessed the qualification, but whether or not you could pass through the various levels of test, that was another question. Also, even if you passed the test, you could only say that you were the type that could only do tests. You still had to handle various challenges and at the end, bear the pressure of the original 5 big saints. Because the saint had to be replaced, and whoever who was sitting on the seat of the saint, would they even want to be replaced? Hence the difficulty level was very high. But this time Wang Zheng's battle had caused a huge sensation on all 3 levels because it was unheard of to have a trial mission being broken through and changed into a daily training. Under the difficulty level of the Saint trial, he not only completed it using a 8-point blade technique but also gotten the final success. This was incredible. Even the saint of yesteryear likely could not complete this. It would be difficult not to attract attention. Everyone knew that this was a strange person, with a strange name, Black Charcoal. Wang Zheng left the trial hall and suddenly stopped. At a corner, Tentacles walked out. Wang Zheng looked at him silently. Tentacles laughed. Master, do you need a follower? I heard that every person who wants to become the saint needs strong followers. I am very talented, and an honest person. I don't have many demands too. Please consider. Wang Zheng was stunned. What was this? Tentacles thought that Wang Zheng was questioning his strength. Master, you can ask around. My potential in the disciple level is definitely in the top 10. You will need me. Why? Wang Zheng said lightly. Haha, your performance today will alert all 3 tiers of the world of saints soon. Those on top will only have 2 types of attitudes towards you. Either you submit to them or they will find ways to destroy you. Even though you are very strong, but the others have the advantage of stronger blade techniques. So what about that? Wang Zheng said. Master, it's too sad to hear you say that. Even though those from the higher levels will have their fighting styles suppressed when they come down, but the levels are totally different. If they really want to get rid of you, you cannot handle them alone, Tentacles said sincerely. Even he thought that there would not be such a good person as himself in this world. Then let them come. After saying, Wang Zheng went offline without hesitation. Tentacles rubbed his face. This was too sad. He had such an honest, reliable face, could he not trust him a little? But it was okay. Perseverance was needed to accomplish great things. Tentacles' thoughts were totally correct. This matter developed so quick that everyone was stunned. Because in the world of saints, any new happening would attract great attention, especially when this happening had some links to the saint. Some hiding powers were also paying attention. Other than the 5 saints, some powers that were hiding long-term in the world of saints had formed a huge interest chain. They were also paying attention. They formed a bridge between the world of saints and the real world. A unique potential investment. It was not up to them to ignore. If any of these big powers could develop a saint, they could have greater right to speak in the world of saints, and at the same time could control more interest. And even to a certain extent, could understand the secret behind the creation of the world of saints. Only upon reaching the saint level then could a player contact the people behind the scenes. This was something every power was paying attention to. And legend said that some of these powers had the background of certain countries. All along, some countries had special departments in charge of such matters. Except, to want to become the saint was too difficult. People like Wang Zheng, who obviously had no background, was as rare as having little gold people running all over on the streets. Anyone with a little bit of EQ would have made the judgment, but too bad they were met with Wang Zheng. This was a person who, as long as the rules allowed, dared to fight the world. It was not that he did not understand what Tentacles was saying, but it was just that he did not care at all. On the contrary, he was looking forward to it. Fighting styles to him was always something to be understood by the self. He was lacking too much in that. If people were willing to be his training practice, the more the better. After getting some clues in the world of saints, something good happened in life too. Yao Ailun knew that Wang Zheng seemed to be addicted to some virtual community, but he did not care too much about that. On the other hand, the only thing he had to do before he went to the elite's college was to relax. The biggest purpose of virtual communities was for otakus to find virtual girlfriends. This, you would understand. Ailun, who was from the elite squad, was the master in this aspect, but he would not be giving Wang Zheng any tips. Old Deer's surprising invite made Yao Ailun very conflicted. Even though Black Deer and Skeleton were old opponents, but they were also considered friends that got to know each other through fighting. How about it, Wang Zheng? Black Deer wants to meet with you. He said he could come over and treat us to a meal. As for whether to accept or not, it's up to you. Yao Ailun knew that Old Deer was famous in the whole world for criticizing Skeleton. Even though there were some changes recently, but Yao Ailun was afraid that he might be harboring other ideas. Go. Why not, Old Deer? This person is quite fun. Wang Zheng actually had no hatred towards Old Deer. On the contrary, he felt that Old Deer was very professional, except that they had different positions. CT was originally to entertain the masses. This type of entertainment spirit was not something everyone had. In the Skylink, Yao Ailun smiled and nodded. Actually, after working with Old Deer in commentating, he also could tell that while Old Deer was sometimes too exaggerated, but his personality was not bad. Old Deer's invitation to a meal, they of course would ask Yan Xiaoshu along. Just right, Yan Xiaoshu was still on Earth. Chen Shu also wanted to go. His righteous reason was to protect Wang Zheng, but actually he was prepared to eat a huge hole out of Old Deer's pockets. After knowing him for so long, it was time for his revenge. But who was Old Deer? He was not one to be taken advantage of. The place he chose was at the street behind the Ares College. The whole street was either filled with CT cafes or gourmet snacks. It had the good reputation of being a street of fighting food. The nice reason Old Deer gave was to reminisce about his college days, but this guy had never been to college. Obviously, Old Deer did his research. Here, even if they ate a lot, he would not have to pay too much. Old Deer, you have no sincerity. Yao Ailun laughed and teased him. Sincerity? This kind of thing depends on attitude. Haha, just look at my eyes. My sincerity is overflowing from it. Old Deer laughed and said. That's ISH*T. Today's a truce between us. I really want to get to know Skeleton. Old Deer smiled, but he really went to wipe the corners of his eyes. He stayed up all night. Who would knew that Skeleton really agreed to meet him? Yao Ailun laughed and looked up to see Wang Zheng and the others walking in. Here they are. Old Deer immediately stood up and recognized Wang Zheng with one look. He greeted him. To be honest, in his impression, Wang Zheng should be quite the sharp character, but meeting him for the first time in reality, he was no different than a normal student. Who would believe even if he told them that this was a famous man of the CT, not to mention the guy who became famous in the IG competition? To say that he was a king would not be a boast. Skeleton God, finally meeting in face. Suddenly, Old Deer was a little emotional. It was very complicated, an indescribable feeling. Wang Zheng was amused. Meeting is better than just hearing about you. Dear God looks so much more handsome than from the internet. Looks like without me, your days have been good. Seeing how Wang Zheng was so humorous, Old Deer's heart was also filled with ease. He felt that Wang Zheng was not a proud person. But he was so strong and so young, perhaps he might look down on him. However, in reality, their first meeting was a bit like meeting friends who have known each other for a long time. Yes, after I no longer needed to eat milk cartons, my health had improved. Everyone laughed. It was like the feeling of waving away all enmity with a laugh. As for whether he should meet Skeleton, Old Deer also struggled for quite a bit. After all, he had always been Black Deer. To just meet like this, would the other person have some other ideas? However, from the looks of it now, he was overthinking. This was a really open person, or put it another way, His goals were very big, the world was big, and he would not really care about those things that happened in court. Ailun is our brother in the trenches. Old dear, you are our senior, criticizing me is okay but he needs your tips. Brother Ailun is better than me. As far as professionalism goes, in the whole circle, there are not many who can compare to him. To be his partner, I'm the one that is being carried along. Old dear was rarely this modest. Old dear, even though you are very low-key today, but we will not hold back on eating from your tab. Yao Ailun said. After spending a period of time together, he knew that old dear was really a good person. There are many things he did behind the scenes, even though on the surface they seemed to not get along. He remembered that once someone wanted to remove him and change him for a beauty lady to partner with old dear, but old dear had rejected the idea. This was blurted out by a drunken director, and from then onwards, Ailun changed his view of old dear. A person could never be judged from the surface. Yan Xiaosu's eyes gleamed. Old dear, there's an endorsement, but not much money, will you be interested? Yes, of course yes. How should I address you, sir? May I know from which famous company you are from? Old dear's eyes brightened upon hearing. Old dear was famous in their circles for loving money. As long as there were opportunities to earn money, he would never be shy. Usually, they did not see him being generous before, so it was a mystery as to why he wanted to earn so much. Yan Xiaoshu laughed. Yan Xiaoshu, just call me Xiaoshu, the Little Fortune Star Company. Have you heard of the Little Fortune Star sanitary pads? Old dear was stunned. He wanted him to endorse the Little Fortune Star sanitary pads? Was he trying to undermine him? Wang Zheng laughed. Why, old dear, no courage to do so? Old dear looked at the smile on Wang Zheng's face and suddenly understood. These people did not want to undermine him, they had absolutely no need to. A small thing, I'm the famous unbeatable deer, the nemesis of men, the dream lover of women. Who said men cannot endorse sanitary pads? My thinking is that men should care and love women. How to choose the best sanitary pads from countless brands, endorsed by leader deer, that of the most reliable quality. Yan Xiaoshu was speechless. Wang Zheng was also speechless. They really saw old deer's courage and his personality that, if there was money, he must earn it. Actually, Yan Xiaoshu was really not just being polite. He was very clear on old deer's current unique popularity. If he used it properly, it would definitely be a hot topic of discussion. Just this topic of discussion was enough. He was just worried that old deer would not dare to take it up. Perhaps this might greatly undermine him, but the goal this time was to take the risk. Just call me Xiaoshu. Old dear, let's have a happy collaboration in the future. The contract will be sent to you later. Yan Xiaoshu extended his hand towards old deer. Old deer and Yan Xiaoshu shook hands. Xiaoshu, I think that my creativity might pose a problem for you. I think I'm too artistic. It is still a question whether my methods can be accepted by the general public. How about we go the usual way and let me endorse other products? When Yan Xiaoshu was making a call through Skylink, old deer quickly used his Skylink to search on the latest situation of the Little Fortune Star Company. This company now not only produced sanitary pads but also other daily necessities. At the start they had no intention at all for him to endorse sanitary pads, who knew that he would take the initiative and hoist himself into the idea. Comrade old dear, a good beginning is half the success. I think you also know that our Little Fortune Star had already gotten the sales rights to Tita Titan. Yan Xiaoshu threw out a bait. If you wanted something, you had to make the effort first. Old deer sighed. He was also a decisive person. He could take things up but could also put them down. Fine, you have my word. With the collaboration settled, the atmosphere among them became warmer. Chen Shu also had a different understanding towards his feelings for old deer. The impression on screen was too one-sided. Now, deer was a friend with blood and flesh. Old deer kept asking about IG. His extent of inquiry was very well controlled. All he asked was on the details of the front part of IG. He did not even mention all the hidden battles at the back part of IG. In his bones, he was also very gossipy and was very curious about IG. In the end, old deer felt unjust for Wang Zheng. Compared to the treatment Lear, Achilles and the others received when they got back, Wang Zheng's situation was him basically being ignored. Wang Zheng laughed and said lightly, everyone has their own fate. Besides, what looks bad may be good, and what looks good may be bad. Old Deer did not agree. You have to fight with God when it comes to fate. You won't stand without fighting. Wang Zheng, if you have anything that you need my help on, I still have some ability to gain support from the masses. Instantly, everyone felt that this old deer became much cuter. Whether or not his words would be worth its weight when the time comes, but at this moment, if he was not a true friend, he would not make such a promise. As everyone was chatting, Wang Zheng's Skylink vibrated, a special notification. Only a few special friends would have such notifications, for instance Lin Weiyan, for instance, Aina. But Wang Zheng never would have thought that the call this time was actually from Changsun. After the separation on the spaceship, it had been a year. Seeing the message this time, Wang Zheng was also a little excited. He knew very clearly that Changsun's mission was definitely more dangerous than before. Wang Zheng excused himself, it was too noisy inside and he walked out to answer his Skylink. Bro. Haha, skeleton, I'm in Beijing, how about it, do you have time, let's meet up. Inside the Skylink, Changsun was grinning from ear to ear. He did not call Wang Zheng by name, instead calling him by his moniker in court. His eyes shone with laughter. You could see that Changsun radiated with great change and transformation. Of course I'm free, if you don't mind, I have a few good friends here now. Old Deer is here today too. This is such a coincidence. Wang Zheng said. He admired Changsun. He admired his will and persistence towards the military. This type of respect had nothing to do with ability or status. That's great, Black Deer is here too. Where? I'll come over. Changsun laughed. The street behind Aries College, Sunset Restaurant. Sure, wait for me for a while. It was very obvious that Changsun was near Aries College, if not he would not have skylinked Wang Zheng. Wang Zheng informed Yan Xiaoshu and the others and waited at the door. Wang Zheng really admired Changsun from his heart. This type of life was what Wang Zheng desired in the past. To live truly and boldly. After a while, Changsun had not arrived yet, but he saw some people bringing out a heavily made-up woman who was staggering from the bar next door. One look and you would know that she was drunk. Wang Zheng frowned. He recognized this woman. She was Xia Yu. She attended his lessons before in the physics stream. She liked to take the front seat during lessons. She was very pretty. The key point was that she was bold in the lessons and took the initiative to ask questions many times. It would be difficult for Wang Zheng to have no impression at all. There were a few men holding her. One of them went to the parking lot by the road to start a sports car and drove over. These few wanted to put the girl into the sports car, but Wang Zheng walked over. Wait. He did not know what happened between Xia Yu and these few people, but a female student of the college, to be made drunk and carried away. No matter what, he could not just watch and let things happen. The few men was stunned and started to look at Wang Zheng in an unfriendly manner. Kid, you are here to eat, right? Go eat and don't be a busybody. The man driving the sports car opened the car door with a bang and glared at Wang Zheng. Obviously, these few people took him to be the leader. Wang Zheng laughed. I'm sorry, this is not being a busybody. This student Xia is my student. I have the obligation to ensure her safety. Your student? Who are you bluffing? You have not even undergone puberty, trying to act like a grown-up. He said loudly. He just did not point at Wang Zheng's nose to say it. Xia Yu, wake up. Wang Zheng called out to her, but Xia Yu simply laid there without moving. She looked to be dead drunk and would not wake for the moment. Obviously, to be this drunk, this matter in itself was not normal. Wang Zheng smiled. He also did not have the mood to quarrel with a bunch of men. This situation was not something reasoning could solve. He directly walked over and wanted to carry Xia Yu away. What are you doing? Snatching people. The people from the other side were stunned before they reacted. The person who criticized Wang Zheng on acting like a grown-up even jumped up and tried to hit Wang Zheng. Wang Zheng avoided it easily and evaded. Then he pulled Xia Yu over. Li Dongcheng's eyes narrowed. He could see that Wang Zheng had some good moves. It was a military school here after all, and he would be a little careful. Secretly he dialed a Skylink and asked his brothers not to make a move. Friend, don't be too much. This girl spent a lot of my money. She was fishing me. No matter what, today she will have to leave with me. Li Dongchang got to know Xia Yu under the friend-making function of Skylink. Furthermore, she was a female freshman of the Aries College. Recently, the Aries College was very famous and it made him look forward to it. Li Dongchang gave her quite a lot of things. The few times they met he spent a lot, but was always being fished. He did not even manage to hold her hands once. Today, he was determined to sleep with her. At this moment, he looked at Wang Zheng and thought that Wang Zheng was actually a friend arranged by Xia Yu, who rushed over to stop when he saw that someone was taking her away. Brother Li, what's there to say to this kind of people? In this area, who are we afraid of? Wang Zheng took a serious look at Li Dongchang. Why, you guys want to snatch a person in public, is there no law anymore? Li Dongchang laughed coldly. As he was going to speak, he saw a few uniformed policemen walking quickly towards them. Suddenly he was happy and stopped speaking. He waited for the police to arrive. Mr. Li, what happened? A fatty about 30 years old wiped the perspiration from his forehead. He just received the newly appointed Beijing garrison commander and received Li Dongchang's Skylink to ask for a favor. Li Dongchang was the young master of the Thunder Group, and the Thunder Group was an important part of the Kronos family's effort to enter the Asian region. It had quite an influence in the political, business and military circles in the Asian region. Chief Kong, these few kids, on seeing how pretty my girlfriend is, insist on snatching her. They still accuse me of not obeying the law. Li Dongchang said lightly. He looked at Wang Zheng, sizing him up. Chief Kong immediately understood what he wanted and the few policemen blocked Wang Zheng by surrounding him. Who are you guys? Students, take out your student ID. You guys are the shame of Beijing, Chief Kong said angrily. This Li Dongchang brought about a few big projects and could not be offended. What were these few kids doing? This girl is my student. She is now drunk and I suspect something is wrong. Hence, she will stay. Wang Zheng said lightly. He did not get angry. Rubbish, if she is not my friend, why will she be drinking with us? I'm not married, you mean I can't do this? Is it that every woman you know cannot drink with others, Chief Kong? Is this a comedy? Li Dongchang said lightly. Small fry, trying to fight with me. Wang Zheng took one look at Kong Chaozhang. Very simple, it will be clear when she wakes. If it is really as you say, I will apologize. Kong Chaozhang also understood roughly what was going on. This girl herself was problematic. Who in the right mind would want to care about this type of matter? No, we can't let this woman get away. At this moment, the few people accompanying Li Dongchang jumped out. This woman is with him. They are a group of conmen, specializing in conning money. Li Dongchang's eyes flashed. He recalled how he had been tempted by this woman during this period of time, being led on and aroused yet not being able to sleep with her. He snorted and steeled his resolve to sleep with her today. Wang Zheng was so angry that he laughed. He did not expect that he could meet with such ridiculous things during a lunch gathering. At the start he actually did not want things to blow up. He only wanted to wait till Xia Yu woke and leave her to settle her own personal matters. After all, she was an adult. But now, he really had to manage the situation. Taking a sweeping glance of the few policemen, Wang Zheng gave Principal Ji Yute a Skylink call. Ji Yute picked up very quickly. Wang Zheng, it's rare that you call me via Skylink. Why? Are you treating me to a meal? Ji Yute said smilingly. With Wang Zheng as his ambassador, Aries College had begun to attract some talented freshmen to apply. Those special enrollment students who they could not attract before have also begun to consider the Aries College. As long as there was talents, there was no need to worry about the college's prospect for future development. Principal, I just found a security breach in the Aries College. There are actually some gangsters who are making our female students drunk. Yes, things have not happened yet. I stopped it in time. Yes, the police came too. I'm going to the police station to cooperate with their investigation. You need not come personally. I'm just reporting the situation to you as this will affect the glorious image of our school. Ji Yute was most concerned about this now. Whoever dared to smear the Air College's reputation would not be spared by him. Kong Chaozhang was stunned and looked towards Li Dongchang. Li Dongchang was also a bit stunned and bewildered. Wang Zheng's Skylink image was not hidden. Everyone could see clearly that the one in the image was Ji Yute. He was definitely a powerful character in the Asian region. Was this guy really a teacher of Ares College? But at this moment, the arrow had been set on the bow and it had to be shot. If he backed down at this moment, how could he stand tall in his circles? Besides, after thinking, so what if he was the principal of Ares College? Even though he had a rank, but it was just a name without real power. If they wanted to be serious, he was totally not at the level of the influence of the Thunder Group. Also, Ji Yute was going to retire very soon. Kong Chaozhong saw that Li Dongcheng still nodded his head and he made his decision. He continued to direct his subordinates and wanted to take Wang Zheng away. The school principal still could not affect the political world and it was not as if he had no backing. Seeing Wang Zheng switch off his Skylink, he said, "Since there are some ulterior motives, you all will join me at the police station for investigation." Who was Kong Chaozhong? He could easily play these primary school kids with one move. However, Wang Zheng did not expect that before the few policemen walked up to him, Hong Long Long, a few big fierce men in camouflage military uniform charged out. Their faces were fierce and without saying a word, they pushed the few policemen onto the ground. Kong Chaozheng's jaw dropped open. He could not believe his own eyes. There were people who dared to beat up policemen on his turf. Were they trying to revolt? Yan Xiaoshu and Old Deer were chatting enthusiastically and only rushed out now. Once they saw that a fight was about to start, Old Deer actually rolled up his sleeves and wanted to join in. It was unexpected that Old Deer still had this hot-blooded side to him. But it seemed like they were not needed. If they really needed them to fight, it was most likely that their combat power was equal to zero. However, at one glance, it seemed like it was not Wang Zheng who started the fight. The few burly military uniformed men stood straight in front of Wang Zheng and saluted. These few soldiers looked at Wang Zheng with enthusiasm. They did not feel shocked at all that he was just a young student. Wang Zheng laughed bitterly. Fine, it was so rare that he wanted to go high-key, be young and reckless, and someone had already stood up for him. Changsun walked out from the crowds. Luckily I'm not late, if not I'll have to meet you at the police station. No alcohol there, that's so boring. Not seeing you for a few months, your temper now seems to be too good. Wang Zheng and Changsun high-fived and hugged. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Now I'm just a student waiting to be assigned to my new post. Who are you guys? Attacking policemen is a serious offense. Kong Chaozhong finally reacted and shouted at them. On one hand he was calling for backup from the station and on the other he pulled out his gun. He had quite the observational skill and knew that Changsun was the real leader of these camouflaged men. His gun pointed at Changsun. Changsun looked at him coldly. If it was in the past and someone dared to point a gun at him, they would long be dead. But after experiencing many things, his temperament changed, he finally matured. Not everything had to be done by himself. That would be too tiring and too unrealistic. Also, it gave people a hold on his possible mistakes. Lightly opening his Skylink, it directly connected. Old Liang, I heard that you just became the commander of the Beijing garrison. Congratulations. Senior Changsun, you are back on Earth. Where are you now? I will come and look for you immediately. Liang Dongcheng was pleasantly surprised. Are you still thinking of drinking till we are drunk? Hee, I'm dialing this Skylink to ask you to keep me out of prison. Now, your subordinate is using his gun to point at my head. It's up to you what to do. What? Which asshole is so bold? Where? I'll be there immediately. Liang Dongcheng slammed on his table and jumped up. Who was Changsun? He was the old captain of Liang Dongcheng in the Federal Army in the past and had saved him countless times. Forget about this time, Changsun's return to Earth this time. He not only made great achievements but was also appreciated by both the new powers of the military and political world. He was going to be entrusted with heavy responsibilities and his future could really be described as truly vast and infinite. This was a soldier who really experienced the training of blood and fire. He was totally different than those who climbed the ranks by sitting in the office and managing their relationships. This was a real soldier. It was a glory earned with his life. And Changsun actually called him via Skylink. This proved that Changsun's temper had already changed. If it was in the past, he would have beaten the other side until they were crippled. Kong Chaozhong, was your head kicked by a donkey? Are you looking to die? Immediately apologize to the head. To punish you on the spot is already a light punishment, Liang Dongcheng screamed. He wanted to kill him in one shot. He was trying his best to please Changsun and his subordinate was good. He actually pointed his gun at Changsun. Kong Chaojiang's face was white. The gun in his hands dropped onto the ground. Liang Dongcheng was the new garrison commander that he was receiving just half an hour ago. What to do, what to do? He actually pointed his gun at the commander's previous head. Turning back, he saw that Li Dongcheng was going to slip away with his friends. Kong Chaojiang immediately made the decision, "What are you guys all doing? Quickly arrest that pervert who is drugging and raping schoolgirls." The few policemen who just stood up from the ground were stunned. Pervert? Kong Chaojiang swiftly picked up his gun and took the lead, rushing towards Li Dongcheng. He had no other way. Compared to the influence of the Thunder Group, Liang Dongcheng, famous all along for dominating the Asian region garrison, was the scariest. Wang Zheng was also stunned by Kong Chaojiang's betrayal. This really was the ever-changing human nature. Life events were unpredictable, and this speed and changing of face was comparable to light speed. Yan Xiaoshu and the others walked over. "Boss, do you want anything? This matter is closed here. Shu, you bring this female classmate to the college hospital." Chen Shu looked at the beauty in heavy makeup. Instantly he was not very happy, but since Wang Zheng had asked, he could only carry Sha Yu and left in the direction of the college. Changsun and Wang Zheng laughed upon exchanging a look. Everyone started to introduce the people that they had brought with them. The men Changsun brought were all powerful soldiers in the military. They belonged to the special forces, the type that could not be spoken of. Back at the restaurant, after a few rounds of alcohol, everyone quickly became familiar with each other. They were all open people and old dear, this guy was really someone. He was the type that spoke to people when he saw people, and spoke to ghosts when he saw ghosts. Of course, seeing heroes, he also spoke like a hero. Talking about it, to be able to meet was also fate. As for that few people, they had to be properly taken care of. As for that whatever chief, they were too lazy to care. Changsun knew the situation of the solar system much clearer than Wang Zheng. After filling up on alcohol and food, Old Deer and Yan Xiaoshu had already drunk till they fell asleep. Yan Xiaoshu self-proclaimed that he was the wine fairy and Old Deer boasted that he could never be drunk, hence the two of them started to compete and they successfully made each other drunk. Wang Zheng, Changsun and the others opened another round. Changsun came to meet him. It was definitely not just to catch up. Most likely there was something else. "You are now famous in the military. My few subordinates are asking for an opportunity to fight with you every day. Are you going to the Elite Academy X soon?" Changsun laughed. "It is just an opportunity for the test. I'm not even sure if I can pass." "Haha, you are too steady. When you are young, you should not be afraid. When it's time to take the leap. Mixing in the political mess is something people of my age do." While Changsun was still hot-blooded in his bones, he was much more tactful in his way of managing things now. He was not alone and if something happened to him, he would bring down his whole group of brothers. Wang Zheng laughed. This really was not a question of stability. Changsun did not understand the situation and level of Wang Zheng's position. "Bro, your mission is complete?" Changsun nodded. "At last one part is completed. I won't be leaving the solar system for quite some time, and I hope that I can change the current situation of the army." Changsun was now the main person recommended by the power that Meng Ao and the others belonged to. They hoped that he would be a breakthrough and break the old ugly habits of the solar system army. Of course, it was also because only people like Changsun would dare to take up such a dangerous position. Wang Zheng was also quite touched. "After going out then I realized how backwards our solar system is. To want to change it would really take quite a lot of effort." Changsun's eyes shone with a strong glow. "It is precisely because of this. More people have to stand out. Wang Zheng, you represent the future of our solar system, you have to hold on." Wang Zheng laughed. "Bro, don't frighten me. I'm just a student with narrow shoulders. I can't carry too many things. I know you have been treated unfairly but I hope that you can understand, based on the current situation of the internals of the solar system, we cannot change immediately. But there must be someone to initiate the change." Changsun said seriously. Wang Zheng could feel the passion from Changsun's bones. This was definitely a real man who could sacrifice his life for the glory of the army. On this, Wang Zheng had no doubt at all. I will do my part. Wang Zheng was less passionate. To be honest, he really was infected by Changsun's passion, but the encounters he had on Tita Star taught him a profound lesson. His own dream had to be spoken of using strength. Changsun nodded. I hope I live to see the moment the solar system rises. Perhaps it was because they drank, the Changsun today was especially emotional. He chatted with Wang Zheng about many interesting things to do with his missions. While he did not specifically say which mission they were, but he still mentioned some of his good friends. But the more he said, the more he drank. During the last mission, 2 of his brothers could never come back. Seeing the drunken Changsun, Wang Zheng had many feelings in his heart. Just as Changsun thought, he also wanted to change, but this needed strength to be spoken of, and not slogans. Like Changsun, his blood was still burning, but he was even clearer that to achieve this goal, just enthusiasm was not enough. No matter what, Changsun was the model of his most admired soldier. The things following after, Yan Xiaoshu asked the people from the company to help. This kind of things they need not care about. After speaking to Changsun, Wang Zheng was very touched. There were some things that he could not accept now, but perhaps he really needed to deeply understand them. What was righteousness, what the truth was, what was right and what was wrong. At different stages, with different positions, there could never be unity. There was no doubt that Changsun was very clear on his goals and his standards, and for them, he did not care for his life. How about Wang Zheng himself? He was still searching, but to him who was barely 20 years old, it seemed a little too early. Usually, youths of this age were still at the stage of enjoying life. Far away at Tita Star, the base of OMG had already begun to break ground. Rusin was at the moment the person in charge of the whole project. He was also an experienced elder of OMG. From the start he very firmly supported Yi Zissou. The truth proved that his judgment was very accurate. However, he still underestimated Yi Zissou's ability. Even in his dreams, he did not think that they could get the Tita Star project. This meant that OMG would walk out of the solar system and could compete with all those mercenary and finance groups. He originally thought that he needed to prepare a large sum to build a base on this planet. After all, it was an emerging immigrant planet and human resources were certainly scarce. In addition to a variety of complex intertwining strength, the money to pass through customs would not be little too. But in this period of time that he spent on Tita Star, he felt that he was going to be senile. Were the people here all crazy? A group of giants were arguing at the construction site. You guys from the Ling Shan tribe had already worked 1 week. This week it is the Chu Shui tribe's turn. Look at the small bodies of your Chu Shui tribe. What if you guys delay the progress? This is Ada's place. It's better that the Ling Shan tribe take care of things, Shan Long said. Shan Long, you are being shameless. We already agreed to have it. If the Chu Shui tribe are slower than you guys by 1 hour, I will give you my head. Mu Luo shouted. Brothers, what say you? The giants behind him roared in agreement. Shan Long laughed. Fine, don't embarrass Sir Titan. Next week we will come to take over from you guys. Haha, good, but whether it is your turn next week, that is difficult to say. The few tribes from the mountain giants have arrived too. At first they were all very proud, but after being scolded by Sir Shan Meng they have come here to snatch work too. Shan Long opened his mouth. FK, that group of embarrassing things, they have not even seen Ada before. What qualifications do they have? No, I'm going to reason with Sir Titan. A group of giants valiantly marched to argue for more work. Rusin did not know whether to laugh or cry. At Tita Star, the work efficiency of the giants was so much higher than Mecha. Of course, the Mecha engineering team was also essential, but the work duration had shortened by so much. At the same time, their cost was greatly reduced. Furthermore, no one dared to collect money for customs fees from them as well. This was still the second most important point. At the moment on Tita Star, the only 2 companies allowed to produce mecha and giant armor were the Lan family and OMG. If this continued, this would be a market with unlimited prospects. Though not spoken about publicly, it could be seen that the giants were closer to OMG due to Wang Zheng's influence, and it was not because of the Lan family. In fact, the Lan family people seemed to want to curry favor with this Wang Zheng. As for Wang Zheng, Rusin had also heard of him. He was good friends with Miss Yi. A student with no background, yet he seemed to have a frightening influence. It looked like he was really old now, he could no longer catch up with the generation, but it was also fortunate to be able to witness a brilliant time. The first batch of ore had already been shipped to the solar system. This was the research material of the King Company. It was also the first batch of mineral deposits shipped out of Tita Star recently. The giants were very crazy when they were mining. Of course, human factories were in the midst of building too. The whole Tita Star was in the midst of enthusiastic construction and development. At the same time, it seemed less casual than before on the immigration aspects. The various conditions were more stringent and based on Tita Star's situation. They definitely did not lack immigrants. At first he was worried about human resources, but after the giants came out of the jungles and caves, suddenly there was no such problem. And the giants really had very low demands. They were friendly and hospitable. As long as it did not destroy Tita Star, they were happy to help build. Under the prerequisite that the environment was protected, they built an environment suitable for human and the Tita to live in. After all, this would be more convenient. Of course, to express respect for the Tita, they had preserved quite a large part of the Tita Autonomous Region. They were not part of the modernization. After all, not everyone was willing to change. But the people of Tita's walk towards technology could no longer be stopped. From a world of hostility and now one that was relatively unified, Tita Star had also taken a big step forward. Wang Zheng would get periodic updates from Yi Zisu and Lan Ling. He seldom participated in these events. Every individual had their specialization and he felt that it would be better if he did not orchestrate blindly. Every person could show their own strength to their fullest. Wang Zheng also gave up on the idea to bring Yi Zisu and Yan Shaoxu into the world of saints. This was not their forte, but they could think of ways to bring other people in. But when Yi Zisu hired people to hack this program code, there were problems. This type of encryption had no way of being copied. The technology the opposite side had was better. Except that he could not understand why would anyone use such a technology on a virtual world. Wang Zheng could only think of other ways from elsewhere. Wang Zheng did found a way from tentacles. He heard that upon reaching a certain standard in the world of saints, he could get an invitation card. Upon getting the invitation card, he could bring one person in. As for tentacles, Wang Zheng also did not know what to say. This guy was still squatting outside the sanctuary, and he had really squatted his way to success, finally catching Wang Zheng. This guy did not retaliate when beaten, did not rebut when scolded, he wholeheartedly wanted to follow his boss. You have such good talent, why not just find a saint to follow, why must you follow me? Black bro, it's too sad to hear this from you. Don't you think that it's fate that we met? Look at me. I'm handsome, and not ambitious. And I still have combat power. I'm such a good underling. Tentacle's eyes sparkled with sincerity. Wang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry upon hearing his words. What the heck is it that you want from me? I really have nothing for you. I can earn my own money. I believe in my own judgment. Black bro will become someone important in the future. Even if I want to follow a person, I also want to follow one that can conquer the world. Why do I need to look for the saints now? These guys will at most take me to be their third follower. If I want to hug a thigh, it takes strategy. Tentacles was full of reasons. Wang Zheng, just accept him, since he is so sincere, then let him first find an invitation card as a sign of his loyalty. Meng Tian came online. The icy beauty's voice seemed so soft in the world of saints. Meng Tian's mask was in the shape of an icy cold water drop. When Tentacles saw Meng Tian, he was stunned. His nose twitched and started sniffing here and there like a dog. Wow, a beauty. Hi, I'm the #1 underling of Black Bro. May I know how old are you? Do you have a boyfriend? In the world of saints, Meng Tian's name was Ice Edge, a knife edge encased in ice. Upon hearing, you would know that it had the meaning of rejecting people 1,000 miles away. Meng Tian lightly linked her arms with Wang Zheng. Why, are you interested even in your boss's woman? Pung. Tentacles fossilized and immediately smacked his head. How did I not think of that? Hi, big sister-in-law. Wang Zheng panicked a little. When did Meng Tian become so bold? It seemed that in the world of saints, Meng Tian became open all of a sudden. Even though her icy cold personality did not change, but her movements were exaggerated. Her skin was very smooth and cool, It was very comfortable to lean against her. The mask did indeed bring great courage to Meng Tian. She's not big sister-in-law. At this moment, a little white rabbit jumped out angrily and directly separated Wang Zheng and Meng Tian. Upon hearing the voice, Meng Tian could guess who the other person was. After all, Wei Yan's Aslan accent was still there, except that she did not expect that Lin Weiyan would appear here. Lin Weiyan was like a protective little tiger, defending its territory and remained adamant about separating the two-person. "Why are you here?" Wang Zheng laughed. "HNG, if I'm not here, you will be lured away by this fox spirit. Sister is not here, I'm going to monitor you on behalf of her." Lin Weiyan pushed out her chest to make her stance clear. Tentacles, who was beside, turned very white and stared at Lin Weiyan. His nose could not stop moving. "Oh God, my God, oh God," Tentacles seemed a little entranced. "Ahem, Little White is my sister. She is at the acolyte level, but you also don't need to be so exaggerated. Boss, this is the ultimate lowly. Oh God, there actually is an angel-level lowly in the world. Oh, my God, lightning, please strike me to death." Tentacles waved his arms and danced about, he almost went crazy. Wang Zheng and the other two were stunned. Was this guy born in the year of the dog, sensing all these just with his nose? "Ahem, how do you know how she looks like? Maybe she looks terrifying." Wang Zheng laughed. Beside him, Lin Weiyan was not happy and pulled Wang Zheng's arms, shaking them. Tentacles was serious. "Black bro, you can't do that. Lowlies are holy and cannot be violated. I believe that your sister is as beautiful as an angel. Don't doubt my professionalism. She radiates a dense yet pure energy. I've never seen such purity. Those who have such energy are royalty. Black bro, your background is not normal." Wang Zheng could not believe it. What, even his random blabbering hit the nail on the head too. Little White Rabbit Weiyan, on the other hand, was very proud. Of course, she was actually a princess. "Little Tentacles, you really know how to praise others. I accept you on behalf of my brother as his underling. Big brother, from now on you are my real brother, I'll do anything for you." Tentacles deepened his voice and said. It was really as though he was speaking for his brother-in-law. Wang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. "You, stay far away from Rabbit." Tentacles' head shook like a rattle drum. "Black bro, actually you don't know me. Even though my name is Tentacles, but I'm a pure kind-hearted virgin. I will take protecting lowly as my personal mission. They are my gods. To be seen from afar and not for pleasure." Wang Zheng almost fainted. Why did he feel that that statement seemed even more evil than what he spoke before? Where did this guy come from? Lin Weiyan looked proudly at Meng Tian. They were all very familiar. One look at this style, Lin Weiyan knew that this was the Meng Tian of the solar system team. She was always acting so high and mighty with her coldness, but Brother Zheng did not like this type. Ana's Skylink at the moment was still being controlled. The situation was worse than Weiyan had expected. At least now the royal family had yet to lower their guard. Hence Weiyan took on the responsibility and obligation to look after Wang Zheng. "How about this, Black bro, give me 3 days time and I'll definitely get an invitation card." After saying, he rushed out immediately. He was so excited, as though he had taken some drugs. He was already like this even before he saw Weiyan. There are quite a lot of weirdos now. Wang Zheng smiled bitterly and shook his head. "HNG, that is my appeal," Lin Weiyan said proudly. Even without her status as a princess, she was still a great beauty. "You, this little girl, what do you know about appeal?" After saying, he patted Lin Weiyan's head. Lin Weiyan did not evade, on the other hand she enjoyed it, like a little kitten. "I'm not small anymore." Meng Tian knew that this little princess was angering her on purpose, but Ana and Wang Zheng were really not suitable. Not to say that Ana was not good, but after so many things had happened, it already proved that Ana did not have the ability to have such a relationship. "Meng Tian, how's your training for your blade technique?" "Already reached the mid-level. I learned a lot. While my Ice Soul technique still cannot be trained, but I understand that once I use it, it will boost my strength greatly," Meng Tian said. "That's good. Make good use of time. If you can reach C-ranked ability X, you should be able to take part together in the test this round for the Elite Academy X." Meng Tian nodded. "Princess Weiyan, You better keep monitoring Wang Zheng or else he will very possibly be snatched away. This made Lin Weiyan so angry. This icy cold Meng Tian actually initiated a challenge. But in reality, Meng Tian would really not do that. The virtual world was a very interesting place. It opened people's eyes and let other personalities come to light. Ahem, Weiyan, don't be angry. Meng Tian is just joking. Wang Zheng laughed. HNG, of course I know that. She wants to make me angry on purpose. I'm not falling for that. Brother Zheng, sister cannot use Skylink now, but she is always worried about you. Weiyan said. Actually she wanted to explain more but she did not know how to say it. This was the sadness being born in the royal family. In the past she had no feeling, but now that she really experienced it, it made her feel so helpless. Wang Zheng laughed and nodded. I know. With this sentence, Lin Weiyan did not know how to continue because she could feel the implications of that sentence. The two of them changed the topic to training. At first he thought that Lin Weiyan was a powerful player. In the end he realized that she really was using money to level her way up and reached the acolyte level before stopping there. She could not advance further. Of course, she did not intend to reach any higher too. As a princess, the reality was much more interesting and eventful. Today, Wang Zheng's main training was to train well and understand the blade technique fully. Weiyan actually did not need to accompany him but Weiyan said that she had nothing on. Wang Zheng stayed in the training room and trained 8-point blade technique. To him, to learn such a fighting style was not difficult. However, what he needed was the experience gained with the accumulation of time. No matter how fast he was, time was still needed. Lin Weiyan just sat happily at a side, humming some unknown song, looking very relaxed. Meanwhile, on the acolyte level there was a new two-person group. One was called The Only One and the other called Mad Puppy. This group caused an uproar, mainly because they were reckless and ruthless. They totally ignored the rules. In the world of saints, to many people, they needed to hug the thighs of someone stronger to survive. But those like Mad Puppy were simply unique. He was literally the model of a professional lackey. Mad Puppy was of the wood attribute. The original normal wood attribute fighting style all were characterized by calmness and gentleness. But the fighting style of Mad Puppy was obviously different. Attracting wind with a big tree, swift and sly like a rabbit, burning wood to attract thunder. He was an explosively fierce tiger, his speed was fast and strikes were strong. Also, obviously his ability was not weak but he loved to sneak up from people's back and attack. He was all sorts of despicable. At the moment, it was not known what abilities the Only One had. But the trials on the acolyte level were almost all completed by him. Logically speaking, there were only two of them. Even if they were stronger, they should be a little more low-key. But these two were reckless and extravagant. The few powers that were dissatisfied with them all suffered losses. Seeing that nothing happened to the two of them, the average person no longer dared to provoke them. From the aspect of pure power, these two were people who would sooner or later enter the saint level. The other powers were too lazy to provoke them because of this reason. They were not afraid of unreasonable people, not afraid of suicidal people, but afraid of this type of despicable, sinister and difficult to handle people. Fatty touched the Mad Puppy mask that he was wearing on his face and barked twice. He felt that this world of saints was very interesting. Life was like a dream and this type of ghostly place was like a dream. He could play without regards and actually the rules in this type of place were so much simpler than the outside world. The Only One and Mad Puppy were no other than Lear and Luo Fei. While that mysterious white-robed man might have some connections, but to Lear, he never liked to put his fate in the hands of others. He used the resources of the Kronos family and ordered a dissection of the codes of the World of Saints program. However, they learned nothing. The technology used was of a totally unknown AI technology. Not to say the source code, even the surface-level signal mechanisms could not be cracked. The unsettling thing for Lear was the fighting styles available in the World of Saints. It actually included the Kronos family's fighting style. The fighting style that the Kronos family got in the first place was not even the complete style. The one available was even more advanced. Were all those of the Saint Church not been killed a long time ago? And they were rising up again? Moving from the front to backstage, they have become harder to deal with. But Lear had to enter this World of Saints. He wanted a breakthrough and he had to find the rest of the Chronos family fighting style in here. Boss, it's so boring now. No one actually wants to challenge us anymore. Luo Fei barked for half a day and still no one came to them looking for trouble. His could not stand his itchy hands and kept winking at Lear. He was hinting at Lear whether or not he could initiate fights and look for others for trouble. Luo Fei's personality hid an extremely bloodthirsty and combat-loving side. But in reality, this side was always suppressed. Morals and law were like shackles which locked very deeply the beast in his heart. But upon entering the world of saints, it was as though he had entered a lawless, beautiful new world. The beast in Luo Fei's heart completely broke free of its seal, and it was just that it had not gone mad at the moment. Lear, who was wearing a golden pharaoh mask, looked at Luo Fei and nodded his head lightly. The fierce beast that did not see blood often would sooner or later turn into a useless home dog. He let Luo Fei follow him was not because Luo Fei was very loyal or a very good lackey. Based on his ability and status, on the background of the Chronos family, he could have as many loyal lackeys as he wanted. In this world there would never be a lack of people who were willing to exchange their life for a good future. Luo Fei cheered and rushed out. Very quickly, news of the mad puppy biting spread on the level of the disciples. Anyone who saw a person wearing a puppy mask should run away quickly. This guy was simply like a mad dog, biting anyone he saw. Also, it was biting randomly and he activated his forced duel mode. He did not care at all whether he would be losing or earning, he was very reckless. Luo Fei did not care much for time in the world of saints. He was here to accompany Lear. As for his heck care attitude for results, his indifference to losses or gains, and yet with such a strong ability, he was a madman that everyone avoided. Let's go to the saint level, Lear said lightly. Lear had already understood the general situation of the acolyte level. There was no need to waste too much time on this kind of low-level place. The saint level was the place that controls the secret. As for the so-called 5 saints, they all had to die. The trial hall. When Lear and Luo Fei appeared here, they attracted a lot of attention. The only one had not officially showed his moves in the world of saints yet. Every time there was trouble, it was always Mad Puppy who rushed out to bite people. Hence most of the attention was focused on Luo Fei's Mad Puppy mask. Ferocious and maniac, it seemed like this world had released the other extreme side of Luo Fei. That mad dog is coming. Hee hee, I'd like to see how the mad dog bites. These two are crazy, stay away from them. Haven't you heard the Wind Dragon group went crazy because of the two of them? These two guys are sinister and wretched, and specialize in sneak attacks. Hush, speak softly, don't mess with them. The people on the acolyte level during this period of time had tasted all the bitterness from this team of the only one and Mad Puppy. It was very seldom that newbies dared to be so reckless. Yet the two of them were very adept at using rules, causing their opponents to be unable to play to their advantage. Of course, the important thing was that these two did not lack money at all. The trial is going to be open soon. Lear brought Luo Fei and walked towards the trial's door. The aura of Luo Fei's Mad Puppy cleared a path in front of them. The trial hall, which was so crowded, and yet no one wanted to fight with him. This was also normal. Whoever came first or later, they were all here for the trial, so they were willing to let the two of them try first. After all, they would not lose anything. There were many powerful players here, and for all who was a little generous would really not care. Hong long long, the trial's door shook and contracted before suddenly jerking open. A green swirl of light opened. The trial had opened. The trial opening this time was the soul trial. The soul trial was very different from the usual trials. The usual trial could be tried with ability and fighting styles. As long as you were strong enough, and your fighting style was good enough, it would not be a problem to pass the trial. But the soul trial was totally different. It tested on the individual's will. Some people even thought that it tested a person's soul. This type of trial on the acolyte level was definitely of the highest level of difficulty. It was very rare. It was said that this trial could dig out the weakness of human nature and destroy you in the place you were weakest, exposing the things you were most afraid of. Boss, let me try first. Luo Fei was very eager to try. Fatty Luo thought about it. His fear was long eliminated with all the various training that Lear had planned for him. In the past he was afraid of spiders, and in the end Lear locked him up for 7 days in a room full of spiders. There was only water in the room and no food. After 7 days. The only living thing left in that room was Luo Fei. There were no spiders left. Of course they were all eaten. He overcame his fear. The taste of spiders was alright, they were chewy. Luo Fei thought about it. It looked like his biggest fear now was nagging from beauties. He wondered if upon entering the trial a bunch of naked ladies would rush towards him. Thinking about it, it was really a little scary. Lear glanced at the little fatty and nodded. Luo Fei barked and rushed towards the trial's door. Hong! The little fatty's eyes were suddenly met with darkness. This was interesting. Did it thought that his fear was darkness? It looked like the so-called soul trial was not that bad. Who turned off the lights? Suddenly, a cold voice came from a corner. His heart jumped. Luo Fei's heartbeat quickened. Switching off the lights. Who turned off the lights? Lear's voice. But, wasn't he in the trial? What trial? Who turned off the lights? His brain was in a mess. Pa-da! Bright white light suddenly lit up. It was so piercing that he could barely open his eyes. A smiling Lear stood before him. Ji Yunong, boss? Lear started at him. In his eyes were cold killing intent. Wastrel, such an easy trial and you can't pass, causing us to be expelled. Boss. I just walked in and I'm out already. I'm also not sure what happened. For real? Luo Fei quickly waved his hands. Pa! In an instant, Lear's right hand grabbed Luo Fei's neck fiercely. Waste like you only deserves to die. Lear's voice was filled with disappointment and coldness. Lear's right hand was like an iron clamp, clamping on his life. Was he dying? Wait for a while. Why? This was not real. Suddenly Luo Fei seemed to recall something. Why was he not resisting? This should be fake. It was a trial, it was fake. What was the use of resistance? Why did he not resist? Luo Fei woke with a shock. His face was blank. He failed to pass the trial and was ejected out of the trial area. He sat on the floor beside Lear. Lear was still looking faintly at him. People surrounding all had an expression like they were watching a joke. It was obvious that these two had very poor relations with people. Except that they were afraid of the bite of the mad puppy and did not laugh out loud. Get up. Lear said lightly. It was only then Luo Fei reacted and shivered. FK. Luckily it was just a dream. He was scared to death. Even if you beat me to death I'm not trying this soul trial anymore. While Luo Fei knew that this was not real, he could not attack Lear. Lear looked lightly at Luo Fei but did not say anything. He turned and walked into the trial's door. There was one good thing about Lear. Even if he wanted to kill Luo Fei, he would never do it in front of outsiders. With his treatment of Luo Fei, this guy should not have any other things that he was afraid of. Lear was very curious too. What would he be met with here? Hong Long Long. Lear had just entered the trial's door. Suddenly, the whole trial burst with red light and something changed. Saint Test. It caused a sensation outside. The disciple-level Saint Test. While there was a certain probability but appearing at the soul trial, this was a first. This trial of this type of difficulty, once it was raised to the level of the Saint trial, it was deadly. FK. Are you kidding me? This is the second time this month. When did the Saint test become so common? Shit. Why is it not me? You better save it. Do you think that the Saint test is random? But the only one is quite unlucky. He actually had the soul trial on the Saint test mode. Haha.